I never imagined my life unfolding as a farmer. Somewhere along the way, that path stopped feeling like mine, and the thought of staying began to feel heavier than leaving. So I made what felt like the wisest decision at the time. I stepped away. I chose uncertainty over routine, curiosity over comfort. It wasn't dramatic or heroic, just a quiet decision to move on and find something that felt right. Sometimes walking away isn't about failure. It's about listening to that small voice inside you that knows when it's time for change. That same sense of unease, of something not quite fitting, is what lingered in the story I'm about to tell. A moment that began like any other day, but slowly unfolded into something no one there could fully explain. A morning like any other. It started as an ordinary morning in the Yukon. The air was cold enough to sting, and a low fog hugged the ground like it wasn't ready to leave. The crew moved slowly, holding steaming mugs of coffee, speaking only when necessary. As machines rumbled to life, metal creaked, and gravel crunched under heavy tires. It was the kind of routine they knew well, predictable, steady, almost comforting. Tony moved through the site with his usual focus, observing everything without saying much. He had a way of listening closely, as if he could sense problems before they appeared. Nothing seemed out of place at first. It was just another workday beginning, with all the familiar sounds blending into a rhythm they trusted, until one unfamiliar note quietly slipped into that harmony. The sound that didn't belong. At first, the strange sound was easy to ignore. A low, dragging noise seemed to come from deep within the dredge. Out there, unusual sounds weren't rare, so no one reacted immediately. But this one lingered. It didn't blend in like the others. It was slower, heavier, almost rhythmic in a way that felt unsettling. Eventually, it caught everyone's attention. Tony stopped mid-step and turned toward the dredge, his expression tightening slightly. When he asked if anyone else heard it, the answer came in quiet nods. As he walked closer, the sound became clearer, like a deep pulse moving through metal. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The silence that followed felt different, thicker somehow, as if the world itself had paused to listen. A stillness that felt unnatural. The quiet that settled over the site wasn't normal. Even the wind seemed to fade, leaving behind an uneasy stillness. Tony stood near the dredge, studying it carefully. He wasn't easily shaken, but something about that silence clearly bothered him. When a sharp creak echoed from inside the structure, it broke the moment like a crack in glass. He asked for a flashlight and approached cautiously. The beam revealed something unusual along the lower side, something that looked wet but didn't behave like water. It clung strangely to surfaces, catching light in a faint shimmer. Tony examined it briefly, then stepped back, clearly unsure. No one spoke. The crew simply watched, sensing that whatever they were seeing didn't fit into their usual understanding of the world. A growing unease among the crew. As the day went on, the mood shifted. Conversations became shorter, movements more cautious. The dredge, once just another machine, now felt like something else entirely, something that demanded attention without making a sound. Tony eventually called for work to stop early, offering no explanation. The crew didn't question him. They packed up quietly, exchanging uncertain glances. It wasn't fear exactly, but something close to it, a shared feeling that they had brushed against something they didn't understand. That evening, the site felt different. Even the familiar surroundings seemed slightly off, as if the place itself had changed in some subtle way. And though no one said it aloud, the thought lingered in every mind. Whatever had happened wasn't over. A return in the night. Later that night, Tony returned alone. He wasn't the type to leave questions unanswered. With a flashlight in hand, he climbed back into the dredge, retracing his steps. But what he had seen earlier was gone. The surface looked disturbed, as if something had been moved. He searched carefully, calling out once or twice, but received no response. The quiet inside felt heavier than before. It wasn't just the absence of sound, it felt like presence, like being watched without seeing anything. After a while, he stepped outside and looked around. The night sky was clear, filled with stars, but offered no comfort. He stood there for a long time thinking, before finally leaving. Whatever had been there earlier had vanished, leaving behind more questions than answers. Strange signs the next day. The following morning brought no clarity. Instead, it added to the mystery. The dredge door, which Tony was certain he had secured, stood slightly open. Inside, faint footprints marked the damp floor, smaller than any of the crew's. They led deeper into the structure before fading away. Tony examined them briefly but said little when others asked. Work resumed, but no one approached the dredge willingly. The atmosphere remained tense, filled with unspoken thoughts. Later, a piece of metal they had found earlier seemed different. Its markings altered, its surface subtly changed. No one could explain it. They covered it again, uneasy about leaving it exposed. It was clear by then that something about the site had shifted, though no one could say exactly what or why. The weight of the unknown. As days passed, the sense of unease didn't fade. It deepened. Small, unexplained things continued to happen. Sounds came and went without reason. The dredge occasionally seemed to hum softly, even when it wasn't running. Tony grew quieter, spending more time watching than speaking. The crew followed his lead, focusing on their tasks, but never fully relaxed. It wasn't just about what they had seen, it was about what they couldn't explain. That uncertainty settled over the camp like a shadow. It changed how they moved, how they spoke, how they thought. Even simple routines felt different now. The place itself seemed to carry a quiet tension, as if something unseen was waiting, observing, or simply existing beyond their understanding. A disappearance without answers. Then one day, Tony was gone. His truck remained, his belongings untouched, but he had vanished without a trace. The crew searched, asked questions, and waited, but no clear answers came. Rick tried to hold things together, but it wasn't the same without Tony's presence. The dredge stood silent, looming over everything like a reminder of what had happened. Over time, stories began to form, different versions of the same unexplained events. Some believed it was nothing more than coincidence and imagination. Others weren't so sure. What remained constant was the feeling that something unusual had occurred, something that left a lasting mark not just on the place, but on the people who experienced it. A story that lingers. Even now, the story continues to be shared, each retelling slightly different from the last. Visitors come and go, often unaware of what the place once held, but those who were there remember it differently. They recall the strange quiet, the unexplained changes, the way everything felt just a little off. Whether it was something natural, mechanical, or something else entirely is still uncertain. What matters most is how it stayed with them, how it changed their perspective, even if only slightly. Some places carry stories that don't fully resolve, and maybe that's what keeps them alive. This is one of those stories, unfinished, open to interpretation, and quietly waiting for anyone willing to listen and wonder what really happened.